Marinette Lane here. I am going to share with you my cancer story, my journey, the good, the bad, the ugly, everything that I went through. And today we're going to start it off with part one while I'm folding laundry. So I started off when I was younger, really not having good health. I was sick all the time. I always had something wrong. There was just something I could tell physically that wasn't right. And it really started getting really bad when I was about age 8. But I would have all these off weird things that nobody be able to diagnose or tell us what they were. Come to eventually find out later on down the years when they really knew more about celiac disease. Kind of find out that's actually what I was dealing with, is I had celiac, which puts you at a higher chance of having colon cancer. So I was already at a predisposition for that. Prior to that, I was having a lot of health issues in my early 20s. I had all my kids by the time I was 22, so I had 3 children. By the time I was 22, that did a lot of havoc on my body, and I still at that point in time didn't even know that I had celiac disease. So here I was, probably super malnutritioned, malnourished, and trying to grow babies, and I was young. I mean, probably the accommodation wasn't too good. But I kept going and seeing, my doctors, and they kept trying to figure out what it was. And it was actually my neurologist. I love him. He's just amazing. His name's Dr. Mascara. He's like, you know what? You should probably go see a gastroenterologist and see if there's, maybe something going on there. And I was like, okay, I was totally fine with that. But this time I gotta think for a second. I was 28. So, I went to go see the gastroenterologist. He's like, okay, we're going to get you a colonoscopy. That's obviously not something that a 28-year-old gets. But I had so many digestive issues and health issues that's what they decided to do. So I get done with my colonoscopy, find out I have celiac disease, and then I have a polyp syndrome. So at that point in time, I had over 100 polyps in my colon. One of them was very close to changing to stage 1 cancer. And mind you, I was only 28 years old. So we came up with a plan. Every 6 months I was going to get a colonoscopy. That was going to be great. We thought we'd be able to stop it. I shouldn't have cancer until I was like 60 or 70 years old. Went and saw a specialist at Kensman Cancer Institute, which they're phenomenal. They're just amazing. Absolutely incredible. The whole institution, everybody there, I've been there, going there for, I think, like 13 years now. So it's been super great experience, maybe longer than that actually. I'm not doing great with math in my head. So I went there, saw the specialists, and they're like, yeah, we'll just keep doing these colonoscopies, and hopefully we can just get them to stop, coming. And there's also some medications that I could take just over the counter that would help it, so that they would stop the polyp growth. So I did all of that, thinking that things would be fine. I would be older in life before I had cancer. Well, then a couple years go by, probably, I think it was 2. I started not feeling good again. Like, I kept just having issues. And every time I'd have a colonoscopy, which was every 6 months, I'd have polyps occur. So there was more going on, obviously. I think at that point in time, my body was so inflamed that it just really didn't matter what I was really doing, because I wasn't really fixing it. It was just gonna, grow. I was also in really bad relationships, a lot of mental and emotional abuse. One of them was very physical. So I had a lot of stress. My body was in a lot of state of fight or flight. So I know the stress didn't also help with all of that going on. So anyways, like I said, I just started not feeling good. I felt like something was wrong, something was off. Well, a couple years go by, and it was in the wintertime, I had noticed, and this was the wintertime of 2013. So the winter of 2013, it was around November, December, I just was getting tired I all of a sudden couldn't like stand the smell of meat. Oh my gosh, it was so awful. Like, especially chicken, it was so bad. So I couldn't stand the smell of meat. I was tired all the time. I felt so bad because all I would do is I'd go to work and then I'd have my kids and then I'd feel bad because I'd like have to lay down on the couch or just lay down, and I couldn't really do a whole lot with them. I mean, I'd push myself to do what I could, but I mean, it was really, really hard. And then things were getting harder at work. I mean, I kept seeing doctors. Nobody could figure out what it was. All these problems, all these issues. You know, I'm a young girl, like just 30, and so you don't think that there's, you know, really anything big or bad going on. Well, come to find out, after 6 months of being sick, 3 to 4 months of being like super sick, like something is seriously going on wrong, I end up being septic in July. So my symptoms started getting really bad in March, April. Kept going to the emergency room, kept going to doctor's appointments. Nobody in this time did any imaging. None. So I go to the ER, septic, not knowing that I'm septic. Wait in the ER for a few hours. Then I go into the ER. They run all their blood tests and stuff. The nurse actually came in and said, "Oh, are you ready to go? I mean, things, you know, are you ready to go?" And I was like, "No, not really. Like, I don't feel good. Something is seriously wrong." And so then she comes out or she leaves the room, and then the doctor comes in, and this is probably about 15 minutes later, and he's like, "You're not going anywhere. You're septic, your appendix has ruptured, you are extremely sick, you're lucky to even be alive. It's a miracle you're even still alive. You have to start antibiotics right away. You're going to have to probably have surgery." I mean, all of this started happening all of a sudden at once. I had no idea that it was even this bad. I just felt like something was really, really wrong. Like I had the flu really bad. But then and then just prior to this, we had gone to a trip, a vacation in Michigan. And so all on vacation, I was getting like flu-like sick. And the whole time I was actually really even lucky to still be alive. So, anyways, doctor tells me that, you know, all this stuff is going on really, really bad. Well, come to find out, I end up having to have days of antibiotics before I could even have any surgery because I was so sick. So I get through all of that. And I was in the hospital, I think, for like 10 days or something like that. And I go home, I recover, and I am like still completely worn out. I'm starting to still have pelvic pain, abdominal pain, like something's still going wrong. And I had a doctor diagnose me and put me in the hospital in September of 2014. In September of 2014 for a cyst on one of my ovaries. Come to find out it was actually a tumor. But I had a cyst supposedly on my ovary. And so that made me almost sick. I was like, there's pictures, and even like on my TikTok, you'll probably see it, where there's videos where my lips are blue. Like things are just not right. So even after that, I get out of the hospital, go home, still try to recover. I mean, I am just like not doing good. Progression to get better is not good. So finally end up having a hernia, which was part of the pelvic pain. Had that surgery in like the winter of 2014. January, February 2015, March, like I have infections, had multiple abdominal surgeries. Still nobody could figure out what was causing the pain, what was really going on. They thought it was infections. But then come to find out, in April of 2015, I was diagnosed with colon cancer at the age of 32. And I'll do another video for part 2.